I'm going to talk about the SRRV, the Special Resident Retirees Visa. And this is not going to be a popular video. I'm going to do this as a podcast rather than showing my face because I'm just giving information. The SRRV is not popular, mainly due to cost. $1,400 to apply, and you need at least $10,000 in a bank account. Unless you're military, then it's $1,500. If you're over 50 years old, it's $10,000. Under 50, it's $20,000 in a bank account that you can use for a condo or leasing land in a house. But most foreigners are not interested in the visa because it's just easy to be on a perpetual tourist visa, and it's not that big of a deal renewing your visa. It's a hassle from time to time, inconvenient at times, but it's not a big thing, and you're not investing money to do that. However, there are times when it is beneficial to have an SRRV short term, and I will get to that a little later. About 15% of foreigners get an SRRV, so the percentages are there that make it not popular. And over 80% of those people who get the visa are Asian. Only 5% are Americans, about 17% non-Asian foreigners. So if you're walking around town trying to find people, non-Asian expats who have a retirement visa, you're going to have a difficult time finding anybody. I know 2 people, and that's all. It's not common. Now, most people, and I understand, don't want it because of the cost involved. But for some people, it would be very worthwhile short term if you don't live conveniently near a immigration office. If you have to travel a long ways to immigration to renew your visa, then it would be advantageous to have a retirement visa. That would be a big deal if you lived a day or so away from a immigration office, and it would cost you plenty to get there and back. Now for me, I'm getting the visa because I'm going to be here long term. And so why wait? I might as well have it because eventually I would probably need it. There comes a time when you don't want to travel anymore, or you're not able to travel and you cannot leave every 3 years on a visa run, and you reach a certain age where you can't leave. Now they do have a special visa for people who cannot travel anymore, but the requirements are the same. However, you still need to do all the application and the physical and the paperwork, and the money requirement is still there. So you might as well get that done ahead of time. Enjoy the visa for many years to come rather than waiting. I'm going to be here another 15, 20 years before I pass, hopefully. And so by that time, I will have for sure gotten my money's worth out of the visa. Now, it's very frustrating getting the visa for me because I had experiences that I had no clue. Things came up that I didn't read about. No one said anything about it to me. I didn't see anything on the YouTube about it. And it's interesting that after I got the visa and started reading a discussion board, several people had different experiences. and it's easy to get different advice from different people because they've maybe got their visa at a different time. One example of that would be the police clearance, a popular YouTuber who gave a two-part series on how to get SRRV said if you don't get a police clearance in your home country, that's no problem, and you can get a police clearance here. Well, that may have been true in the past, but it's not true anymore. You must get a visa clearance, or no, a police clearance from your home country, and it must be apostilled, and that means verified, and there are services that do that. But you have to get clearance both in your home country and from the National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, here in the Philippines. I will cover that a little later also. So I had frustrations and little things that came up, and I'm going to discuss some of those things, and you may have a completely different experience, and if so, leave a comment, and for the interest of everybody, it is an interesting topic for a few people, and for those few people, having good information can save you some time. Now, the requirement that took the most time for me was the banking requirement, the putting of the $10,000 in a time deposit account. I got some really bad advice on that to start with. Somebody who I thought was in the know and knew how to do it gave me a sheet of paper printed right off the website that shows where to send the money and what bank and the bank account number. And I thought to myself, what? And I asked the person who told me, what, you don't set up the account ahead of time? How could that be? You're just going to send 10 grand, they don't even know who you are. Oh, they know who you are because you're going to give them your name, but I haven't applied yet. It was crazy. Well, of course, that turned out to be nonsense. It looks like that's what you do by looking at the website. But no, you can't do that. You've got to, well, in my opinion, you've got to first get a list of approved banks. And then before you open the account, you need a letter of introduction sent to the bank from the Philippine Retirement Authority. And it's a good idea to go to the bank first and make sure that they can help you and what the requirements are of opening a bank account. There are different requirements for different banks, so no one person can advise you 100% on that. When I opened my regular account at my regular bank, Union Bank, they required proof of billing, a rent receipt, and payment for utilities under that address. And no picture was needed. But someone told me that they needed a photo to open an account. It went with their paperwork, so you just never know. Now, I went to Security Bank, or Bank, not Security, excuse me, I saw an ad today about Security. Bank of Commerce to open my time deposit, and they did not require proof of payment nor a photo. So you just never know. It's best to ask ahead of time before you open your account so there's no surprises. And I had a little surprise even opening my account with Bank of Commerce. First of all, I was going to wire money from my bank in the United States, Wells Fargo. It must be a bank-to-bank transfer, intermediary transfer, I think they call it. But anyway, it's got to be, you just can't put cash in the account. and I got things set up to send and went to my bank online and found out that I cannot wire money from the United States to the Philippines unless I'm in the United States and I receive a code on a US-based phone, which of course I don't have since I live here. I send my money to a bank here using Zoom, but as soon as Zoom comes in, it's classified as cash, so that doesn't count. My bank, Union Bank, wouldn't open the account because it comes in as cash, not as a bank transfer. So I went around and around with the PRA over that for about a month, and finally they said, well, Bank of Commerce will accept it. So I go over to Bank of Commerce and I'm talking to the manager, and she said, well, you know, you can use a check to transfer the money. Did you know that? I go, heck no, I didn't know that. Nobody ever said that. I wonder why. Why wasn't I told that to begin with? I would have saved a lot of trouble. And she paused for a while and said, well, you didn't ask. So the purpose of this recording is to encourage you to ask questions, hear some of my problems and what happened, and maybe that'll save you the trouble of the same thing happening. So I wrote out a check for $10,000, and it took 3 weeks to clear. And then as I was headed out the door, the bank manager said, oh, by the way, that's a $5 charge for that check cashing, and it has to be in your account by the time the check clears, and it's got to be $5 US. Well, I don't exactly have $5 US on me at the time, so I went home and on a later date took $5 cash and put it in my account. But that was another trip, just another little detail that I didn't think about, or no one said until it was too late. But then when the check clears, I was notified, and I came back into the bank to get a copy of the certificate, and there's a small charge for that. I forget, a couple hundred pesos, something like that. And you get a certificate, a copy of a certificate, and they will send the original to PRA, and then you're all set. And then you include your copy with your paperwork to the Philippine Retirement Authority. So that whole thing took about 3 months to get accomplished, going back and forth. My whole experience required about 6 months, believe it or not. I did things in sequence instead of doing things at the same time, and I wasn't in a big hurry. But you do need to be in a bit of a hurry when it comes to the police clearance from your home country. That's only good for 6 months. So if I had gotten my clearance from the United States, I would have maybe missed the deadline. Now, as far as police clearances, you need two. The National Bureau of Investigation is where you go, not the Philippine National Police, the NBI. And that worked out pretty good, actually. You get online to make an appointment. You can't just show up. And you pay online ahead of time. I went to 7-Eleven and paid the money, and they explain on how to do that. And then I show up, and they say, well, where's the copy of your passport? The important pages of your bio and current stamps. And I said, oh, gee, I don't have a copy. I didn't see that on the website saying it's required. Oh, yeah, it's required. Okay, well, I'll go get you a copy from the office. So the guy was really nice about it, but I suggest you have a copy of your passport and don't depend on a nice guy going into a closed office to get it. The other thing he said was you need a a passport picture. What? No one ever said that to me. And it's on the website of the NBI. They don't mention that at all. And I asked them about that. I said, well, geez, how come that wasn't on the website talking about getting a clearance? And he said, well, the website is for Filipinos, not foreigners. Foreigners have a different procedure. The foreigners get a full fingerprint card done. And on that card is a photograph. The Filipinos have bios done only, biometrics. And you will also do the same thing the Filipinos do. You go through the biometrics. However, you do the old-fashioned card also for fingerprints. And then you will receive a piece of paper saying what day to come back to pick up your clearance. And that literally takes 2 minutes. Once you go in, they direct you right to the desk to pick it up, and you're out. So that went pretty good, except for not having the photograph. I had to go across the street and get that done. It just added a little more stress. And then there's the physical, the medical. Now you can get that done for free if you go to an approved clinic there in Manila that's associated with PRA. I know that. One guy said that on YouTube, that it is free. Now, I don't know if that's true in other cities that have satellite offices or not, but you don't have to go to a particular one. You can pick any clinic, any doctor, but of course then you will pay for that. I got mine done here in Barretto, here in the Subic Bay area, and I paid about 3,000 pesos total to have it done, 2 doctor appointments. And when you're going to a small clinic here in the Philippines, be prepared to be frustrated. The first day I show up and, oh, the doctor isn't here today. Okay, I'll come back tomorrow. Only in the Philippines. So I see the doctor the next day and show him the form, and he writes out orders for the test, and I have the test done, but they're not done for 3 or 4 hours. So heck, I just went home, came back another day to get the test, waited to see the doctor again, and so it was, I don't know, 3 trips to get my physical done. But if you go to a big clinic at a hospital, or, you know, instead of going to a little dinky clinic like I did, you're going to have a lot easier time of it and get it done with 1 trip. I'm going to talk about the police clearance from your home country, because that's on my mind lately, because I did not get it done before I applied, even though I knew I was going to apply, because I got some bad information. I went to a immigration specialist office here in Barretto, and they said, oh, you can do that online. You can get police clearance online. Well, that isn't true. Yeah, you can get police records online, but that's not getting a clearance. You have to show up in person and give fingerprints, and you just can't look up somebody's name on the internet and get their police record, and that's it. That was really bad advice. So I didn't get it when I was back in San Diego the last time. However, they do give you 1 year to get your clearance, so they will issue the visa with the stipulation that if you don't get the clearance within a year, you will lose your visa. So when I go back to San Diego, I'm going to need to get that clearance. Now, time is the essence. If you do it cheaply and would wait, you're going to take several weeks to get everything done. You got to get the clearance, and then It's got to go be apostille, they call it. And that's changed. It used to be different. You called a red ribbon at the embassy. I'm still not all up to date on all that, but they switched sometime last year to be the world standard of apostille. And all that can get done quickly. It's got to get done for me within 2 weeks because that's how long I'm going to be in San Diego. In order to get it done quickly, you can go to a service. There's one in San Diego where you can get an FBI clearance within, I don't know, 3 or 4 days by paying money. Gee, I forgot what it is, $100? I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But then you need a postal service, and there's a service to do that in San Diego to get it done quickly. So other big cities probably have the same thing. So the clearance from your home country is a big stumbling block. And it's just best to get that done ahead of time when you know you're going to get your SRRV. And then as soon as you get back here, get the process started. Don't fool around. You can get it done within 3 months if you don't have complications and do stupid things like I almost did, or complications of ignorance. Just keep on it. You'll get it done within 3 or 4 months at the most, and you'll be fine. But you don't want to have to. For me, it's just I wish I had done it ahead of time. That's all. Now I've got to make sure I get it. Hope nothing goes wrong. So even though it sounded like I'm complained a lot on this recording, talked about disadvantages and problems and frustrations, I am glad I have that visa now. It's really nice to think about not having to go to the immigration office ever again. You can pay for up to 3 years if you want. So for 3 years, you do nothing. You don't have to make an annual report, nothing. You could just hide out in a cave for 3 years. As long as you're paid up, you're fine. Oh boy, that is a great thing, because when you're on a tourist visa, you got to be aware of it and make plans around it. Like, oh my goodness, I'm due this week, so I got to go up this week, so I might as well go to the shopping center. So you're planning different things to make it more efficient. And then you want to go on a trip, but you're due a week after your trip or whatever. So you got to switch your trip plans, let's say. If you're traveling within the Philippines, you want to be here about the time you're due for your renewal. So you will find yourself switching travel dates around a little bit to accommodate your renewal date, in other words. And this is something that only I think that might happen in the future. There is a current controversy about Duterte, President Duterte, wanting to require Americans to get a visa. That was something that he, I don't know, when Trump first, just before Trump became president, he was threatening, and then he backed off, and now he's threatening the same thing again. And the rhetoric is still going, so that has not been resolved yet. But if he requires visas for Americans to come here, it will be very valuable to have an SRRV. Very, very valuable. And you will see a huge rush to the PRA to get that visa if that should happen. And even if that does not happen and President Duterte backs off on his threats for a visa, I think eventually foreigners will not be allowed to stay on perpetual tourist visas, as what happened in Thailand. They finally did away with the border runs. You have to get a retirement visa. You just can't stay on a tourist visa over and over, and you have to show financial responsibility with money in the bank and income that you can prove. And Thailand is rather high. Their requirements are about double that of the Philippines. Now, they don't have the $1,400 fee. I don't know what the fee is, but their bank and income requirements are about double. Here it's $800 per month, I believe, for a single person. In Thailand, you need about $2,000 a month, or the amount of money in the bank, which is about double required here in the Philippines. And a lot of people just don't have that money. They don't have money to put in the bank. They don't have the money, the income, and they've had to move out. Many people have had to move out of the Thailand. But all that did not go unnoticed here by the Philippine immigration system. They're probably looking at that and evaluating it, and someday, as politics heat up, maybe it could be required. I'm predicting that someday you will have to have a retirement visa and not be able to renew perpetually. I hope that doesn't happen for the sake of all my friends here, because it would be a big hassle to get that retirement visa when you're in a big rush and thousands of other people are trying to do the same thing. But I hope all that does not happen. But I think the visa is worth it in the long run, and my advice is just to hang in there and don't get too frustrated. I wanted to quit a couple of times, but I hung in there. So hang in there. It's worth it in the end.